Yeah, I think we can now. It's live on Facebook. Vijeta?
Yes, ma'am, please start.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 10th episode of web series Decoding NEP 2020, brought to you by Edudevs School of Inspired Teaching and Learning in association with Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham University. My name is Meenu Chopra, and I accord a very warm welcome to everyone. Today's topic for discussion is restructuring university admissions in the wake of the pandemic. With the cancellation of class 12 exams, students may seem relieved, but there is an air of uncertainty, and that is soon becoming a cause for concern. As we explore the nuances of navigating the current times, this is a good opportunity to pause and reflect on the importance we place on examinations as a mode of evaluation, the importance placed by universities in setting their admission criteria based on a student's exam result than their overall candidature, and the need for lawmakers and academicians to reevaluate the education system as a whole. May I welcome our illustrious panelists from the field of education. Our first panelist, Mrs. Charu Maini, is a dedicated educationist. She is the principal at DAV Public School, Sector 49, Gurugram. She is a true visionary who believes education must bring together a fine synthesis between Vedic values and opportunities brought forward by a modernist society. She has 28 years experience in the field of education. She's an expert panelist and resource person for teacher orientation and capacity building workshops with CBSE and NCERT. She has contributed to a wide variety of publications for primary to graduation level with national educational bodies like NCERT, CBSE, NMEICT, MHRD, and SWAYAM portals, MOOCs. We are extremely honored to have you on board. We welcome you, Mrs. Maini. Our next panelist is Dr. Nagendra V Chaudhary, Vice President and Head Academic Relations and Learner Success at Times Professional Learning, a division of Bennett Coleman and Company Limited. Dr. Chaudhary has 27 years of rich experience in institutional building, designing innovative pedagogical tools, authoring books and articles. Dr. Chaudhary's professional goal is to build educational institutions from ground zero and make them stand out for a unique competency. He set up institutions like ENPC in Paris, Executive MBA program in Cochin, Sri Ramakrishna Postgraduate College in Nandyal, ICFAI Business School Case Development Center, and ESA Enterprises AG's Global Academy. His role at Times Professional Learning, ZT Cases, and Times Pro Center centers around building academic and intellectual capital. We are privileged to welcome you, Dr. Chaudhary. We welcome our panelist, Brother Maheshwara Chaitanyaji, who currently serves as the chairman of the undergraduate admissions of the School of Engineering, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, Deputy Controller of Examinations of Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, Amritapuri campus, and also serves as the Contest Director, International Collegiate Programming Contest, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, for past 10 years. He has more than 14 years of teaching experience in the field of computer science and engineering. We are extremely honored with your presence, Chaitanya ji. I welcome the moderator for the session, Mrs. Devyani Kapoor. Mrs. Kapoor is an educator, an author, and a thought leader. She is the founder and CEO of Edudevs, the School of Inspired Teaching and Learning. An ex-principal, she carries over 30 years of experience with her in education sector and has worked with key brands in the educational industry. She is credited with introduction of a number of innovative pedagogical techniques for effective classroom management, quality circle time, lesson planning, experiential learning, and student empowerment strategies. A very warm welcome to you, Mrs. Kapoor. And now I hand over the stage to you.
Thank you so much, Meenu, for such an illustrious introduction of all of us. A very good evening and warm welcome to all our distinguished panelists. Today, we have yet another pertinent issue that we are going to address. Restructuring the admission process of universities in the wake of pandemic situation. Creating a new normal for the generations to come. I welcome you all once again. The government of India on 1st June decided to cancel the board examinations for class 12. The state boards, the Indian school certificate examinations followed suit. Our esteemed Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, asserted and rightly asserted that the decision was taken in the interest of the students and that the anxiety among the students, parents, and teachers needed to be put to a settle. Catering over crore students who undertake board exams, conducting a board examination in itself is a humongous task, as we all know, which involves a high degree of preparedness and precision. We were in a war-like situation, and we all welcomed it as a nation. However, this decision opened a Pandora's box for all of us. The new academic year 2021 and 22 might face a unique approach in terms of formulation of merit-based results, seat reservations, eligibility criteria, timelines, admission processes. Everything would require overhauling, setting each of us into a new normal. Now, the cancellation of these class 12 examinations will directly impact the new methodology for admissions to higher education. But for years, haven't we all been challenging the admission process as being the one window assessment approach? With this, we come to our most popular segment, which is the ice-breaking round. Same question will be addressed to all the three panelists to gauge into their perspective of the issue. Dear panelists, the time limit to this segment is 2 minutes per panelist. And I would request each one of you to please adhere to the time limit. We will follow the sequence of first the same question addressed to Ms. Charumani, followed by Dr. Nagendra V Chaudhary, and then Brother Maheshwara Chaitanya. So, Ms. Mani, the initial euphoria over, cancellation of the CBSE examination, there was a lot of day-to-day, we were waiting every day open, and we realized that the government, with the courts were, deliberating and mulling over this thought, has given a way to uncertainty. Educationists see it as an opportunity to, as I just said, overhaul the education system, and the term it as prudent decision, given the current circumstances. Of course, this might herald the beginning of a new paradigm shift at the school level and a marked change in the entrance criteria to the higher ed institutions. Now, my question is, do you think it's prudent decision, and what changes are you expecting? Yes, Ms. Penny.
Thank you so much, Devyani ji, and thank you everyone here. So yes, taking from your question, I feel it is actually indeed a well thought of prudent decision indeed. And taking into consideration the safety and health of our children, which is paramount importance to us, this was the best that could have been done in this pandemic situation. So I am happy with the decision which the government has taken. And the pandemic has indeed pushed us out of our comfort zones and brought us an opportunity to critically examine our education system. And then obviously, I would say change it for better. As you were talking about the university admissions and other things. So indeed, for ages, we have been talking about that the education system needs an overhaul. So this is the time that we get that to overhaul the education system. And the NEP 2020 also pointed towards it. And why only NEP 2020? If I pick up Kothari Commission 1968, it talks about all these things: competency-based syllabus, learning to learn, real learning, constructivist approach, etc. So all these were enshrined in that also. But somehow, maybe because of the bulk of the students that we have and to sieve the best, maybe this was coming out as the best policy. But now we know that that 3-year examination cannot take us further, and we have to devise new methodologies to assess the cream or assess the competencies of the students, the core competencies of collaboration, critical thinking, communication, which are core to a person to take up any job for per se, or whatever. Okay, so like we can say literacy and numeracy, if someone has, then Google is the whole basket. You can pick and choose and learn whatever you wish to. And the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, which has been set, also I'm sure is going to help us in that. And the 360-degree assessments, assessment for learning and assessment as learning would be the way forward in this scenario. So in this way, I would like to say, yes, indeed, the cancellation of board examination and the n number of debates that preceded it will help us identify the learning gaps, identify the gaps in the education system. And it has taught us many lessons as to how to make it more equitable and resilient. So that's from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nani, and very well said that it is actually all about not just testing the memorization and the rote learning through the rote learning process. It is also about testing the core competencies, and soon it has opened and heralded into an era of competency-based learning. Over to you, Dr. Chaudhary.
Thank you, Devyani, and other panelists. Really wonderful topic, I would say. I hope you will have animated discussion on this because you will never have a common ground. But nevertheless, I think I look at this one in two ways. One is from the point of view of cancelling CBSE examinations, and the second one is about, is there any scope for improvising the testing mechanism itself? I think I look at two ways. One is about the very idea of cancelling examination. I think, let me speak here more as a father. I think not as an educationist, but I think if I look at it as a father, I definitely feel absolutely saddening. There's no doubt about it, because the way, my daughter, and likewise, I've been talking to a lot of children of her classmates, and I also have counseled a lot of parents and their children. And with that little experience, I would say strongly that, for the last 1 year, the kids have been studying, and added to that, the uncertainty brought in by the pandemic. And then despite that, they want to do well, right? They want to do well for the examinations, and they're looking forward to it. And why I said saddening, because I think it was more of an administrative decision than a decision that has been taken, keeping in mind the future of students. Because the very NAP tells us about what is called as the gross enrollment ratio. And then we have one of the worst gross enrollment ratios in the world. And even if you look at developing countries, and then we're talking about right now it is about 26%, and then by we want to move it up to 30% by 2024. I think that's a far fetch. Now it doesn't make any sense, because it's not going to be there at all. So I think even if you look at the next one is about, okay, I mean, that's fine. What else do you think the government could have done? I think they had all the time in the world to have planned for it. And that is something that I would hold them completely and dearly for that. So from the point of view of best practice, you might counter argue and say that do we have examples? Yes, there are examples. For example, if you look at Spain and South Korea, for example, China, for example, at least these three countries I know for sure that, for example, if you take Spain, at some point of time it reported the high number of deaths and things like that. But yet, all that it has done is it has made sure that the students have taken the test, right? And the only thing is it has, I won't say diluted, but then it has used components, and therefore still there is what is a sanctity for the examination, because this 12th class examination results are the passports, or the visiting card to the higher studies. And if you tweak there, and especially in the wrong way, I think that's what I think personally, as a father, definitely that is something that I know that was not welcome. And the second one is there any scope for improvising the result? I mean, the way we test the children? Yes, absolutely yes, because I think it is well argued and also voiced over many years, and especially in the last 1 or 2 years thanks to pandemic. I think there are ways and means to different ways and means to test the children, because I think one is because the very system is such that the teacher teaches one session, right? And then he teaches in over a period of time. But then if you look at the student, it is exactly opposite. Now he's supposed to remember all that the teacher has taught the entire year in just about 3 years' time, 3 hours' time. I think that way it is going to be very difficult for the child, and therefore the mental faculties are going to be frozen, because we're going to condition his or her learning. So therefore, I think there are enough and more models in the world where people are using these models too. One is definitely the continuous evaluation system. There is no doubt about it. Again, within that, what is the best way to test depending on the discipline? Because let's say you have science discipline, you have arts, humanities, and maybe commerce, etc. So each one of them will have a different a tool that can be amenable to test their knowledge. So I think that's would be my two cents on these two ideas, Devyani.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary. And yes, you're right that class 12th results, if you look at from parents and students' point of view, they are definitely the passports to their world beyond school. And so the result holds a lot of importance. But yes, also very rightly that we need to look at other models, as many of the foreign universities cater to their admission process through the holistic assessment approach and not just the one window. So probably we've got this chance where we can delve and deliberate on newer approaches and newer processes. Thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary. Moving on to Chaitanya ji. Let's hear out what Chaitanya ji has to say, because I'm sure he must be sitting there and juggling and deliberating on various policies that the university would be, looking for. Yes, Chaitanya ji, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for this wonderful topic. See, there are a few things which I wanted to mention here. The first thing is that, as Charu ma'am mentioned, this is the time to change, and it is the right time, which we have a lot of opportunities with the help of technology. First thing is that, as rightly pointed by Dr. Nagendra, parents are much more worried than students, because for the students, they may be pretty clear on what they want to do, but parents are much concerned about the children's future. See, because the children nowadays are much more smarter than teachers and parents, so they know how to find out some information from Google. So the thing is, of course, the decision is both good and bad. I'll just point out an example. For example, we have a campus in Kerala, and in Kerala they have already conducted the +2 exams, that is the state board exams. But at the same time, the CBSE exams are not happening, so they have cancelled the CBSE exams. So how do we weight both the boards? So that is a little confusing for us, and you cannot expect a candidate who is planning to do a BCom to come for an online proctoring test. No, it is impossible. So then the only option available is to go through some interview process. So interview process becomes so elaborate, so tedious when you have this online system, scheduling and calling the students, connectivity, those issues. So one way it is good that, from my perspective, I think the students and parents have to come out from this examophobia, because they think that +2 exam is something, will define the future. Definitely not. Because the exam will be repeated again in BTech or any degree. And they will further have a lot of confusions when they go for placements. So when they attend an interview, again, it is an exam. So it is not stopping at +2 level, and let us not give that kind of an importance to this. And as I remember the dean of Amrita campus, he used to tell, every day has to be an exam. Every class has to be an exam. So that is how he thinks of education, because we have to come out from this rot learning, mugging up of syllabus. Because I know when I ask some questions, the students will say that this was not part of the syllabus. So teachers are teaching from the syllabus point of view, students are learning from the syllabus point of view, and they always say that, oh, I learned for 2 marks, but you asked for 5 marks. How will I answer? So they don't know how to present a concept. So that has to change, and I am 100% sure this NEP will change the entire scenario. But still, the big question mark is, how do we practice? All theories are good to see, but how do you practice it? How do you train the teaching community? How do you uplift the teaching community, which is very important? And at this point of time, the public universities are going with the +2 marks. So let us say, state board exams have been conducted, CBSE have cancelled these. So how will the public universities weigh both these students? So that is also of great confusion. And there are some chances that the students who are poor in learning, they might get better marks compared with the other students. So all these issues can be a great concern. So my suggested solution is that, at this point of time, maybe for the next 2 or 3 months, the students and parents have to do a thorough research on the different courses available, the selection criteria of different colleges, and we have wonderful NIRF ranking. They can always go through the ranking website and see what is the admission process, and then they go to a college where they can satisfy the criteria. And I'm 100% sure that just like last year, even if they take admission in the college, the UGC will direct them to refund in case they want to cancel the admission. So there are plenty of opportunities. So rather than brooding over what will happen in future, etc., it is the ideal situation is to sit and do an online thorough research, find out what are the courses available for me, and corresponding colleges or institutions available nearby house or outside the states, wherever. And according to that, you move forward. So that is what I want to say. Overall, it is good as well as bad. It depends on how we utilize this situation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Chaitanya ji, and I completely agree with what you're saying, that I think for years we've been overemphasizing class 12 examination. And second thing is, yes, students and parents and educational institutes also have to come out and from their traditional mindset to a mindset, because last 21st century, the last so many years within the 21st century, we've seen that it has created across the world demands and created such kind of systems where a student has to be equipped with certain skills of communication, collaboration, critical thinking, how to use the information effectively, data analysis. So, it has to have the assessment, and the admission process should look into a holistic pattern than just one window. But yes, there is a lot to be deliberated before we come to a conclusion. Thank you so much, sir. Moving on to our round 2, where each one of you will be addressed one question depending upon the time. And moving on to Charumani ma'am. We've seen that all said and done, as Dr. Nagendra very rightly said, and we have been, looking at the class 12 board examination like a passport for your to be ready to enter the real life. Now, merit is the basis for admission to various, undergraduate programs, especially DU, and so many, barring a few, Jamia has always had an entrance examination. So many universities, as sir was also mentioning in down south, that have their entrances examination. However, the final class 12 board exam, even though we may seem that it is a test of memory, does provide a result to gauge the meritorious position of students, create a structure which enable us to set our admission pattern. Also, students work hard throughout that 1 year. Throughout the 1 year, and often it is that last 1.5 months, because I'm sure being a principal and I've been seat for years, and we've seen that till January the student is performing extremely badly, and then suddenly you have the class 12 results where he's scoring 94, 95. So, of course, by due respects to our assessment process, but that push to prove himself for class 12 examination, does that give us a clear-cut picture? Don't you think now with students and academic counselors, they have this kind of a fear that the entire year's assessment pattern vary from school to school, because many schools I've heard are now reconducting their online tests to improve the scores of their students. Now, wouldn't students and various institutions in various states would be at a disadvantage, when it comes to college admissions? How will we create a parity in this when it comes to schools giving out the scores to the university? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Devani ji, for this. First of all, to Professor Chaudhary, yes, I empathize with you when you have a child at home who had to write a grade 12 exam. But what else we could have done? They say, if you have lemons, then what do? You make lemonade and drink it. Make the most of what you have, isn't it? So this was the best that you could have done in this particular situation. So that is one thing. And looking at all because it's a crisis. We are there in the crisis. It's a global crisis. And we have to pave our way through in the best possible manner. And I think this cancellation of examination was the best way here, and putting to rest the apprehensions of the parents, the students, and the teachers, as ma'am was asking. Ma'am, you were saying that merit, we would get merit when the 12th standard examinations were held. So was it merit actually? You yourself said, no, ma'am, that prior to 1 month, the students won't have been performing well, and suddenly the grades shoot up. So it is the test of rote memorization, I would say, rather than the test of merit, so to say. Okay, so but yes, all this is what we had been relying on, and we also are a product of that. If I'm sitting in front of you, I'm a CBSE product, and ठीक है, कुछ ना कुछ तो था ही उसमें, and that's why we are here. Scores, you said how to bring the score, the parity in the scores, and how it would be done. So like we all have gone through the grade 10 examination, we have done the results, and I am वैसे भी if I ask if you ask me, I am a person who gets satisfied very quickly, and I am of the this jargon only, that laminate, have a lemonade when you have lemons. So I am happy with the class 10th result that was made, because they gave us a window, the best scores that the school had in the past historical performance. We had to take that, and in that window we had to work with the students. So students, I'm 100% sure, will not be at loss. Ma'am, you were talking about that throughout the year performances would be taken care of, but doesn't matter. Even if the throughout the year performances are going to be taken care of, the moderation committee of the schools will sit over that, because that's how we have done for 10th, and I'm 100% sure for 12th, they're going to come out with a very robust formula, which will help schools to have that kind of a freedom, wherein they would see to it that their students are not at a loss. आपको आपके स्कूल का the whatever is the best historical performance, they are giving you that window. In that historical performance also, they will give you the freedom to play with the marks, to put them in the for the students. The teacher knows how the student has been performing in grade 10, grade 11, grade 12. So I am 100% sure this is going to give better results, Mr. Chaudhary, and your daughter will get good results, and you will be happy in the end. So anything else?
Yes, Miss Mehdi, I'm very tempted to, rub this. Now, schools are vying with each other. When you, as principals, we read our illustrious victory sagas on the annual day, 50% of it is which student was admitted to which university, and that becomes the crowning glory of each school.
Sure.
Now, there will be that kind of back in mind are in their hands to give the scores. So how would you think, very briefly, how do you think a control would be made when the scores will be dished out to the students by different schools? So maybe very quickly something.
Yeah, so ma'am, surely I also missed on that, I think. So earlier also predictive scores were being sent to the universities. The foreign universities were always taking predictive scores before giving us the intent letters and all. So and now many of them have even come back to the students that they will take the predictive scores only. Why? Because they must have seen that for these particular institutes, the predictive scores and the scores that the child got were more or less, they were in parity. Okay, so I don't think there would be a problem there. Now coming to the capping, as you were saying, that some schools may overshoot their performances, they won't be able to do that, I'm 100% sure. Because the capping would be put by CBSE as it was done for grade 10. That this is what I am assuming. The formula hasn't come out, but after getting deep into the grade 10 result making, I'm 100% sure no one can really go off the roof and give marks to the students, and the others are just sitting over there. Jab aapke paas, you have the historical data, you will be able to do only that much.
Great, thank you so much, ma'am. This was a naughty question, and I wanted to bring it
up.
No.
Because this is there playing in everyone's mind. I also have a niece at home who's asking, "Bua, ab kya hone wala hai?" So this is what is.
Absolutely, thank you so much, and we do get some kind of a capping by the CBSE or some kind of moderations, which leads to creating a parity when it comes to, putting all our the students in the same dish. Moving on to Dr. Nagendra Chaudhary. Yeah. So the pandemic for sure has created a new normal. And when we look at the education industry, it has not only forced universities to find ways to continue while they were fighting out virus transmission, but it has raised a very, very pertinent question, an existential question, that for years we had a particular model of higher education suited to the needs of the global needs. Now the 21st century has inaugurated and created a newer world where expectations are different from the students, the skill sets are very different. So does it still carry value for this system would still carry students, and would the young people have already been hit hard by this crisis? We definitely want to avoid situations where we have, qualified unemployed youth, where they have degrees, but no skill set. This question definitely becomes relevant because I was reading an article, your article, where you spoke beautifully about kind of skill sets that probably a 21st century youth student would be requiring, and where you had put in your management, talked about management students and how you had compared them with other streams. Yes, sir, over to you.
I think that's a good question, Professor. I think it's $1 million question. I don't think we will have an immediate answer. Again, like I was telling you some time back, we will have an animated discussion on that. But I think whatever I have heard from different deans and directors across the world and some of the best education leaders in the world, I think one thing is for sure. I think this cannot be the new norm for sure for higher education is concerned. And the reason is simple. One is that if you look at, because of the first degree and the second degree, because the way you look at the first degrees, you're actually, if you look at the psychology part of it, the cognition part of it, the child is just, broadening his or her mental capabilities or the faculties. Now, the PG, or what we call it is the second degree here, I think that's where you are actually honing them more deeply. So if you look at just the first degree, ma'am, just after 12th class, what happens there is that the two skills that you need when across the globe, whichever institution that you go, you will have these two. One is the hard skills, other one is the soft skills. Now, again, the soft skills also becoming the hard skills given the pandemic situation. That's a different story. But then, if you look at the the hard skills part, yes, maybe to almost about, maybe I wouldn't say 100%, but especially pure sciences, it's impossible. Maybe about 60 to 70% you can achieve through online, but again, not 100% as far as the hard skills are concerned. But when it comes to soft skills, which are going to be life skills, not just when I say soft skill, but they're also to be looked at more as a soft the life skill. Now, that cannot be delivered, or that cannot be passed on or inculcated while online. Ma'am, there's no way, because I'm seeing because we also deal with some of the best learners in the country and also at home, and then we have been talking to different like you said, different institution builders and educational experts, and their philosophy is same. I think they're waiting for this to get over very soon, and they want to get back to the campus very soon. So much so that there are institutions, for example, the best country that I can think of is of all the countries in the world, UK has been the first one. If you look at just Google also, this is the one country which has attracted or which has invited the students from all over the world. And again, the highest number happened to be from China and India, just about last 3-4 months I'm talking about. So therefore, there is actually we are talking to somebody, a very senior administrative officer in Lincoln University evening around the same time, and they're already having a lot of students on the campus. Because that is where I think the learning is going to be, because life skills or the so-called soft skills cannot be delivered online, because they need to have that ecosystem. Because that's the only way. For example, a lot of things are the soft core and the hardcore subjects kind of thing. The soft core subjects, anything related to social psychology or social sciences related subjects, ma'am, there is no way that I can deliver online. There's no way. And if you look at most of the subjects, there is a social science component to it. So therefore, to that extent, I think we'll be missing out, and then maybe the half-cooked product that we're going to deliver if you're doing only online. This is not going to be sustaining at all. That's for sure. And the second one is that yes, I think the bigger question is that. I mean, what kind of practices I think that's going to be coming in the years to come. Yes, yeah, it's not that people, the universities have not used this online, because you would have seen even before pandemic, there are many universities or business schools or colleges where they used to invite lectures online, and they used to invite people for online lectures, and that used to happen live. It's not that they didn't have it. One thing is that it used to happen while the learners were on the campus. So therefore, it's not that they were new to it. The only thing is, if you make that one as a new normal, I think that's where the entire edifice is going to crumble. Because if you look at, even you trace it, ma'am, about which is the oldest university in the world, which is about 1009, it is a 1096 year. That's almost about more than 1,000 years ago, University of Bologna. Now, this university, or let's say you look at the second one, is the University of Cambridge, which has produced, I think, 29 UK prime ministers and almost about 56 Nobel laureates. And what have they done? And if you look at the history of what they've sustained, this model, very illustrious model of it is not about inculcating, but it's also the kind of life that comes along with the campus life, or what you call it. I think that's the impromptu discussions. A lot many things. Time is not sufficient, but the point is that this cannot be the new normal, and I'm sure people are going to be, willing to. I mean, I'm sure they want to go back to the campus life, both the faculty as well as the children, especially, because I think that's what is where the live action is going to be taking place. So that's my gut feeling, Professor. Although I'm not wishing that that's going to happen soon, but definitely, what I definitely wish is that it should be the case, so that the entire mental faculties, if they have to blown up, or they have to really, what do you call it, the sprouting in the way they should be, I think the campus life is whatever you learn. I mean, you learn something bad, something good, that's fine. At the end of the day, that's what the life is all about. And therefore, I think I should, and I think that's what my honest perspective would be, ma'am.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary. I think we all resonate with your thoughts that, yes, campus experience and campus life evolves a human being and makes a man out of a student. So that experience is something which cannot be replaced by any online models. And second, of course, we see that the universities and everywhere, I think, the modalities of the curriculum and models will have to change. A lot of integrated approach of specific skill sets, which will hone the 4 C's, which are communications and critical thinking and data analysis, and plus the industry specific skill sets. So on that note, of course, the universities will have to relook and revamp their curriculum. I'm sure most of the universities are doing this. Thank you so much. Moving on to Chaitanya ji. Now, again, a question which I think you're the best person to handle this, that last December, the Union Ministry of Education had formed a committee to look into the modality of a common entrance test for the undergraduate courses at all the central universities in accordance with the National Education Policy. However, we've been seeing for years, as I earlier also said, that Jamia Millia Islamia is known to conduct its entrance tests for its undergraduate courses. Many other universities do that, but then there is a clear-cut distinction. Certain universities, for certain courses, have entrance tests. For certain others, they base their admissions on the class 12 marks. Now, I think this situation has given us an opportunity where the universities can probably, wholeheartedly support the central universities' common entrance test for the UG courses. Now, what do you see, and do also tell us what could the challenges be in conducting? And the model is very good. It does bring a right kind of meritorious students to the institution, but there would be definitely some challenges. And so, yes, Chaitanya ji, over to you.
So, ma'am, let me honestly tell you, there are so many entrance examinations in this country now. So we are adding, in fact, one more entrance examination, and if at all, the common entrance examination proposed by the government for the centrally funded institutions. So how many entrance examinations will a student write? First thing. Second thing is that what makes it different? How is it different from other examinations? First thing. Now let me put a controversial fact that, for example, I'm sitting in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu, and there is no entrance examination in Tamil Nadu. So for the state university, Anna University, there is no entrance examination. Admission is for the engineering programs. Admission is purely based on the +2 marks. So what can we expect from such kind of a student, or those students who are not trained to attend an entrance examination, whether it is an offline or online exam? So how do we address that challenge? Where there are several states in India, there are a lot of coaching institutions running business, and they just do the coaching, and we always call as cracking of entrance examination.
Yes.
But let me tell you, they may be good in cracking the entrance examination, but they may not be able to perform well in the academic system, because they are trained in that way for years. We can see IIT coaching from 6th standard, 7th standard, 8th standard, and there is no concept of +2 or any board, and board is just an add-on, where the main thing is coaching. So again, the same concept will flourish, and we are actually nurturing that kind of a fraternity. And of course, it is good. Common entrance examination is good, provided the next level, that is the school level, if you are able to balance that school board across the states, across the CBSE and the state board, government has to bring in some mechanism to equate a state student and a CBSE student. One way or the other, they have to be ready to accept the changes. For example, what I hear from Tamil Nadu is the last government, they made a very good reforms in the education system in the state. And now they have introduced a lot of skill-based or experiential learning-based assignments and assessments. And what I heard recently is that throughout this lockdown period, they kept on training the students in government schools. So which means that they may be the best students, but they may not be good in cracking entrance examination. So it is always good to have an entrance examination, provided all the students who attend that entrance examination are given the proper education on how is it different from cracking an entrance, and how does it differ once they come to the academic system. Because problem solving skills and critical thinking skills are most crucial. And it may not be easy to go through acquaint those skills just by cracking entrance exam. Because with the teaching experience I have seen a lot of engineering students who get top ranks when compared with a state syllabus student. They come into the system and they may not be able to perform well. So how do we equate this? Cracking an entrance examination perfectly fine, but what will happen once they come to the academic system, and how will the faculty manage? So that is going to be a really big challenge. The common entrance examination will be one single window for admission to these centrally funded institutions. Even for us, for example, for Tamil Nadu, we have a separate quota for Coimbatore campus, because we know that the students may not be able to perform well in entrance examination, and the students from other state may be able to get top rank. So to resolve that issue, we have a separate quota for the state, just like NITs do. For NITs also, there is a state quota. So just like that, we are following the same pattern. And this year, what we did, we have given enough opportunities for the students to attend our entrance test multiple times, so that they can improve the score. it is same like JEE pattern. So something like that has to come, because still there is a fear of taking entrance examination, and not even that in this scenario, specifically in this scenario, when the students and parents are totally in an uncertain situation on what will happen in near future. So it is about their career, about their future, because I see that much more than the any other community after the healthcare sector, students and parents are the most affected community, because it is all about their future, and we don't know what is going to happen in the next 6 months or 1 year. So that also is there. So given that situation, I think it has to be eased now for the time being, at least for this year. Perhaps when these situations are normal, this type of entrance examinations are good. But my suggestion is bring in only one entrance examination, just like NEET, across the country. Remove all the other entrance examinations and make sure that they bring in a system. They have to bring in a system where we can equate both a state student and a CBSE syllabus student. So that is my take on that. Thank you, ma'am.
I think thank you so much, Chaitanyaji, because and I'm sure the parent communities, and we have a panelist who is also a parent of class 12 student, and I think two very important views that we generated from your thought is that first is equating the CBSE and state board students. So that I'm sure will make a lot of difference. I think that's a very, very important statement that you've made. And cracking of the entrance exam is not important. Helping them sustain into that course. And so removing all entrance examinations and having an all India kind of state. So you would say that that means, because I really want, this is a question which I'm sure so many parents and educators sitting here would want to deliberate upon. So you want to say that instead of looking at universities having separate, having a common entrance exam for all their colleges, use pan-India kind of entrance examination. So how would that model for sciences, that model might work, but model work for, sorry, I'm just expanding on this, commerce and liberal arts as well, if you could throw some light, because this is very important for our viewers to know. That how can that be, because those are professional colleges. Here it is about, what are your suggestions on this for commerce, liberal arts, and?
It was for me, right, ma'am?
Yes, sir. This is for you.
So if you look at the various career domains, let us say arts and humanities and commerce and engineering, then healthcare. So there are different ways in which we can assess the students. And if you really want to look for a quality kind of student intake, my suggestion is to definitely go by the profiling methodology, where most of the foreign universities do, especially for the liberal arts and other sort of programs. For example, we do have a 5-year integrated program specialized in data science and mathematics. So profiling is a very good way in which we can assess the students. And nowadays, with the help of technology, there are a lot of systems that will assess automatically with a lot of AI sort of platforms. It is possible for us to assess create an automated assessment system. And finally, we can have a one-to-one discussion. Or there are universities like Shivanada University. They do have a faculty interaction. They won't call it as a kind of interview, but they call it as faculty interaction. And the department specific faculty, they will talk to the students after the shortlisting, so that the number of students whom they talk to will be reduced. For example, if you have 500s, you have maybe 100 to 150, and maybe a cluster of faculty members can talk to the students face to face. Then it becomes easy to ensure that the student quality, the intake is really good. So other than engineering and medical professions, other streams can certainly follow this kind of a methodology, where the colleges and institutions can ensure that the input is good, so that finally after 3 years or 4 years, the product they generate, that also is good. So my suggestion is a kind of faculty interaction with an automated system put in place for assessing the profile of the student. Perhaps the whatever extracurricular or co-curricular activities they have done during their school, the competitions which they have participated, all those things will help, because ultimately liberal arts is more about the skills and the way in which they think has to be different. It is not just like engineering or any other profession. So that is one of the best ways which I would suggest. I think what Charu ma'am said about the historical data. So if we are able to feed that data, whatever the students have done through their high schooling, so that will really help. For example, we even now we go through the 10th class mark, because 10th class mark is the students are very serious before they turn to right or left. They are serious about that fact. So then it is always good to have a historical data, get the maximum data, and we can the first this thing itself, first shortling itself, we can find out those who have filled up that kind of a historical data in the system, they can certainly be considered because they are serious students. So something like that, some kind of automated system that can assess a student profile, that will be of really good help to select the students, because the student intake is usually less comparatively when compared with engineering.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Chaitanya ji. So I'm sure the institutions, the heads of institutions and educators would have taken a tip from Chaitanya ji, that profiling, assessing the student profile. So that also means that institutions have to start encouraging students to work on their profiles right from maybe class 10. And then another very important is the faculty interaction, which often has been taken like an eyewash, that I have cleared the written test. So faculty interaction I will be able to, but I think faculty interaction should be given equal importance. So am I right? There could be a combination of a written test, assessing the student profiling, and faculty interaction when it comes to the non-science, the STEAM, I would say, courses. Right. Thank you so much, Chaitanya ji, for your insights. Coming back to Dr. Chaudhary, and I actually want to pick up from where we left. Now, we were talking about the experience that the child on-campus experiences, which the students last 1.5 years have been greatly missing. The cost of education still is high, but the college experience is diminishing. But at the same time, the online courses that are, being offered, and I see around, on various social media handles and other LinkedIn as well, that students are encouraged to take up these online courses, and those courses are actually bringing a lot of value to them in terms of developing a skill set, etc. One more recommendation is, even if when we have a open, are open, how would you, what would you suggest, that what pattern should there be, like a combination pattern for the new model of the universities when they open? So what would be your suggestions on new patterns, creating a blend of best of all the worlds?
I think I would put broadly as a, maybe if I have to put an overarching structure, ma'am, I would say something like this, 60% practicals and 40% theory kind of thing. I think that should be the issue, maybe 60% or, 70%, whatever, but at least 60%. What we're looking at is that I think that's what is required, because for a child to have, what we call that engaged learning, because unless and until you involve them, but not necessarily the class, all the courses have to be taught only in the classroom. For example, let's say you're talking about humanity, largely about, I would put social science related courses broadly, I'm saying other ones are pure sciences, for simplicity's sake. Now, all the social science related courses have got to have that human element, because that's where you learn from. Otherwise, I think you are going to be secluded, and then you become I think very strange animal for the society. I'm sure that's not the purpose of any such course. So therefore, and then if you look at the hardcore science or pure sciences, ma'am, then you definitely need that kind of the classroom engagement, because there are labs, there are experiments and things like that. And then therefore it's an exploratory kind of thing. But as far as anything which is got the social science element, they have got to have that thing. But either way, I think I would strongly recommend. For example, I can tell you from my little experience, I think whatever courses that I was running, for example, BBA or MBA or any other course, it was always important for me, in fact, for us to ensure that we used to have a simple thing. For example, I've introduced something called as a peace program. Professional engagement and career excellence course. Now, what it meant is that it is absolutely all-rounded course. It has nothing to do with any specific module we have designed. In fact, I remember the entire committee was so appreciative of that course, because students were amazingly benefited. I'll tell you what we have got is there is a component of movies. So we used to encourage people to see movies, and there is a discussion, not just movies, because it is all about edutainment kind of thing. And then there is a book review. They have to read a wonderful book, right? Again, we have to give a list of books, and then they used to have what is called as a video making, because right now everybody is into because we have to speak their language. The children language is YouTube language, or the children language is, or earlier the TikTok language. So the point that largely we are saying is that it has got to have the practicals, and it has to have that theory. Theory again, I think it all depends on the theory. Doesn't mean that it. I mean, the moment we make it boring, that's what people say. But otherwise, theory is a very good example of what people call it as a it is a structured way of putting the practice. Because that's what the theory is all about, because theory doesn't come just like that. But because the way it is delivered, I think that makes it all more boring, or all the more disconnected. But I think the most important thing is to ensure that students are engaged, because ultimately, like I was telling, it is not about teaching, ma'am. It is all about learning. Because like I was telling somebody else, you can have a wonderful teacher. I mean, maybe a gold medalist, or maybe a outstanding faculty. What if the students don't learn in the classroom? As what is saying, operation successful and patient died kind of thing. So I don't think I should have that kind of situation. I want to have every child, every session, because there's an opportunity cost. Every session, they're adding a brick to their life, and that's whole deal. So I can have, I have seen a lot of faculty, amazing faculty, but then when you go to the classroom, they're disasters. It's all due respects, because their mind is elsewhere. Maybe they are good researchers, maybe good thinkers, but when it comes to classroom teachers have got to be something who have a different DNA altogether, who want to be quizzed, who want to be contested, who want to be challenged, and that's the kind of faculty who should go to the classroom. And therefore they're the ones who will the thing is that the kind of difference that somebody can make, professor, and that is the one I would like to say, that is the larger the delta we say every learner. Because like I keep telling the faculty that please don't look at a child, because if you want to be truly evolved, I would say kind of a level 5 teacher kind of thing, please look at behind every child there is a family. Right behind every child there is a family, because their entire hopes and everything is riding on the child. Maybe he won't know it or she won't know it, but then that's what it is, whether it's in India or Los Angeles, anywhere in the world, because every child or every student or every learner comes to a classroom. Behind him or her, there's a family. Their entire hopes, maybe generations of hopes are there on this child. But the point, therefore, is that how do you make sure that he or she becomes absolutely not just employable, but I think a livable person. That's what I would say. So therefore, I think overarching thing would be about maybe 60% practicals and 40% theory, or 70%, if you may like to put it that way. But the point is that there has to be an amazing component of practicals, professor. I think that's the only way the students can learn, and they enjoy, and they can, of course, they might fail. That's fine.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary. And I'm sure our viewers will take a note of that once the pandemic is over, and with the national education policies, guidelines, campus experience anyways will be diminished, reduced, because their students need to be pushed out of the classrooms. Learning has to happen in the life scenario in the form of internships, online mechanisms. So yes, healthy blend of hybrid model would definitely will be seen when post-pandemic. Moving on to Ms. Mani, there has been a proposal under consideration to allow, students to take an offline exam at a later stage if they are not satisfied with the marks that the school is awarding them. Now, with this system in place, and we see that most of the foreign universities, as it is, we are delayed. The admission process of most universities would have started. Would this whole thing create another, problematic situation? How will the, what kind of challenges do you think the class 12th grade would be facing when it comes to, admissions, marks, they are not satisfied, revaluations? How will all this system be created? I'm sure our parents would be wanting to know this, because that's something generally people rely a lot on their revaluation marks. And yes, Ms. Mary.
Yeah, thank you so much, Devyani ji. And also, as I was reading the chat, one of the teacher or maybe an educationist has written that two batches of students are not same. Then how can the CBSE put a cap? Kind of a question is there in the chat, which is similar to what you are saying, that the student is not satisfied, or maybe the school is not satisfied with the marks that the child has got. So first thing, as you said, reevaluation. There would be no chance of reevaluation in this case because there are no exams, though no written exams. Another thing is the CBSE, as much as I understand, it will just give you a window. Within that, the teachers have, as Chaitanya ji was talking about, the profiling. The teachers have been monitoring the historical performance of the child, and what Chaudhary sir is saying, 70% practicals and 30% of theory. These all are pointing towards that we are giving more importance to what the child does throughout the academic session, or much maybe throughout the years of education. And when we say practical, it is, I think Mr. Chaudhary, Dr. Chaudhary, you also wish to say about the profiling kind of a thing, where we are asking about LORs and internships the students have done, or maybe the work they have done with the NGOs, and the kind of things they have been doing in the inter-class and inter-house participations, so which will create a whole profile for the child and would be good for the admissions. Now, coming back to what Devyani ji, because I just got a little swayed away from the question that you had put. So when we would be making the result, the window is coming from the CBSE, but I know what my child had been doing. Okay, it is not necessary that if in year X, the highest percentage that my child got was, let's say, 98%. But this year, I can see there is a spark in one of the student or two of the students of my school. So no one is stopping me from giving him or her a 99% marks. Okay, but I have to have a rationale ready with me that why I have given those marks. So this is also putting to rest the question that Ma'am Rita has put in the chat, that two students of two batches are not same. Yes, indeed, they are not same. The cap that would come from CBSE, it would be only to see that the schools do not put the marks just as if whatever they wish. उतने विंडो में आप खेलो ना बच्चों के मार्क्स के साथ, मतलब the teacher knows the child, you put the marks and do it. That would be there. And as you said, the writing exam, I'm sure if this kind of a free hand is given to the teachers to give marks to the students and moderate with the marks, I don't think any child would be asking for a re-exam. I don't think they would be asking for that, because I feel that the students are going to be satisfied with the marks that they are getting, because it would be the marks that they have got throughout the year, plus the moderation committee from the school would sit and increase the marks to reach to a level where the best performance, historical performance of the school had been. So isliye I feel there won't be any problem. And for university admissions, as you were saying, for my school, my students have been applying to various foreign universities, and Professor Chaudhary, to your Benetton Common also, the students do apply to, and all these institutes ask for a profile, as Brother Chaitanya was asking, talking about. So profile and the predictive scores will help the students in securing the best position in the universities, and we should not trouble our minds and our souls, children and ourselves, ki pata nahi kya hone wala hai. Everything would be, all is well. Yes.
Thank you so much, Miss Mani, because that's one question I'm sure all the parents who would be watching today's show will be concerned about, that how will it happen? How will, because if they are looking at foreign universities, how will things, they might not miss the and considering that
so Devyani ma'am, just I'll add, the universities are accepting the results that we had given them, the profiles that we had sent, the predictive scores that we had sent, because that's what I have received from my students who have applied in University of Waterloo or other universities, because these universities must have seen that whatever the predictive scores the school is giving, maybe, I do not know how they have done that, and the actual scores which have been obtained by the students in the previous years, which are our alumni or alumnus who are there in these universities, that's the reason that they are accepting the predictive scores, and they have already given admissions to the students, and I don't think there should be a problem.
So those admissions are on the provisional grounds, like initially it used to happen that with the predicted scores we had provisional admissions, and then they were confirmed only once the board results came.
Ma'am, so, but now it's yes, you're right. Earlier it used to be on provisional grounds, and they used to wait for the scores from the CBSE after they write the exams. But now the news that's coming, and a few students have written to me that they have already got the admission. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sure this satisfied so many of our parents. Very quickly, one last question I'm taking up, and after that we'll have questions from the audience. Question is to Brother Maheshwar Chaitanya ji. One of the prime newspapers, sir, had an article on the new version of the engineering, that it is structured on a 3+3 or a 2+4 format. Now, students are admitted directly after grade 10, mostly on the grade 9 assessment and all. The format assures the engineering seat while also providing them relief from board examination. Now, what is your perspective on this kind of a system? How do you think the student's mind is developed enough that by the assessment of class 9, or is he sure that by that time he does wants to pursue those 5 years or 4 years of engineering? So shouldn't we wait till class 12? Please tell us about this.
Okay, ma'am. I too saw that news, and honestly speaking, it is basically 10+3 year diploma, then a lateral entry into the BTech or BE. That is how it happens. So even Amrita has the same system, because that is as told or as regulated by AICTE and UGC. It is possible for any diploma holder to join a BTech program. But see, do we really need to encourage that kind of a system just because that you can avoid +2, or you can just avoid the examinations in high school? I don't think so. Because see, future engineers are expected to be the problem solvers, and we have been discussing in this session itself about the skills that we are expecting from the future engineers. Engineering is basically a skill. It is totally based on the mathematics and analytical skill of the student. And a diploma is more into practical orientation or application of the whatever they have learned. So somebody who can think from a critical point alone can design. So for example, designing an aircraft is very, very crucial, or any such kind of a thing. For example, designing a robot or designing an automated device. It is very critical, very crucial, and that has to be done by an engineer with having very good mathematical skills. So the design perspective is totally different. And when you talk about software, let us come to the software. Even software also requires a very good design. Recently, we saw Nirmala Sitharaman, taking on Nandan Nilekani about the tax filing software. Even see that is how you think of. So when it comes into practice, the practical application can happen only if there is a good design behind that. So to craft or to bring in that kind of engineers, it is very important that they have to go through the schooling system, proper schooling system. And of course, as rightly pointed by Maini ma'am, see that skills they acquire from the school is totally different. And I earlier I suggested in one of the conversations that now you have integrated programs offered by coaching institutions right from the 6th standard and 7th standard. So how are we training them, or how are we programming the brains of the young students? Which means that they are just like horses. Horses have this kind of thing. They will run only to the different way. So that is not the way it has to be. They have to be exposed to different type of career opportunities, different skill set, and let them experience and then let them choose. It has to be the responsibility of the student. Let us not give them any kind of shortcut. They have to experience, they have to learn, let them be responsible for their future, and parents has to be facilitators. They have to facilitate. So honestly speaking, this kind of programs, I don't think we should encourage that. But of course, if there are diploma holders who really want to get into engineering, or they come from that kind of a background, then it is perfectly fine, because AICTE has already approved that kind of a system where a student who has completed diploma can always join BTech. There is no harm.
So thank you.
Yeah, it has to depend on the perspective of the student, and from their career plan, they have to decide whether to go for this or that. Yes, ma'am.
So I think very beautifully you stated that we should not be encouraging this kind of program just because we would secure a seat, or probably avoid those 2 years of. But very rightly that the schools and the parents need to prepare the students. So from class 9 onwards, preparation towards this mindset can be developed, and school especially needs to take that time. In fact, I need to congratulate. I was reading one of the competitions that Amrita hosting, that is Elgo Queen competition, and that's a competition on computational thinking, codification, and it's more like catch them young. So these are, so parents and schools can, the profiling that you were talking about, so the mindset of the child can start developing by throwing children or exposing them to these kinds of competitions and opportunities. Great. Thank you so much, sir. And I'm sure our schools especially and parents would have taken a note of it, that it is not important to run after and block your seat or avoid those 2 years of rigorous training. In fact, those 2 years are very important. But start preparing your child right from class 9, exposing him to the right kind of, opportunities. All right, coming to the another very favorite round, which is the Q&A. Some questions which the audience addressed to the panelists. And here in my phone, I have a number of questions which my backend team is giving me. But yes, one of the questions is by Aarti Tandon, what will be the criteria of private universities for admission this year? I think we've been talking a lot, but one bite can be taken from Brother Chaitanya ji to sum up what we've been discussing. Yes, sir.
So in general, for the engineering program, because of the high intake, most of the universities, especially the premier universities in India, they go with entrance examination. And the +2 marks is only taken as an eligibility criteria just to make sure that they are passing out from +2 and they are given the admission. But with regard to the other programs like what we were talking about, for example, biotechnology or commerce programs or programs in liberal arts or any other undergraduate programs or integrated programs, most of the universities go with the class 12 marks. But this year there are institutions, for example, we go with the +2 marks and talking to the students, though it is an elaborative sessions that we have to conduct. But ultimately, see, we are not concerned about this year. And I feel that even the parents and students, they have to think about the future only, not this year. This year is anyway going to be like this only. We cannot expect much or a better world than what we see now. So what we have to think is we face the situation with confidence, nurture the talents and skills, and go through the interview process or go through any test process that conducted by the universities to join the favorite programs. So programs have to be favorite than a campus. Choose the best program, then only the campus comes or the institution comes. And let us think about the future of the students, not let us forget about 2021. So that is more important. So most of these universities are going with the interviews and as ma'am suggested, historical data. I know my friends working with Shivanadar and OP Jindal, they are going with the profile as well as they're talking to the students one-to-one. Then they select the students. But for engineering, it is through entrance examination. That also online proctored exam. That is how it is going on now.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure our viewer would be satisfied with the answer. Mr. M.D. Zargar has a question which I feel is very philosophical, and I'm tempted to address this question to Dr. Nagendra Chaudhary. Sir, how to ensure admission in universities without any scorecard and without conducting any examination, still ensure it in a transparent way?
I don't think I will have an answer. But I'll give you an example. I think maybe that can maybe because there's no way that we can answer this. But nevertheless, I'll just give you an example. I don't know if I ask all of you which is the world's oldest and the smallest university. We know the best of the universities because the QS rankings and all that. But trust me, I'm sure this university, none of us would have heard about it, mostly. And therefore, let me repeat the question, which is the world's oldest and the smallest university? And by the way, I'll just give you some hints, ma'am. This year, it is celebrating its 103rd year. Until 100th year, till 100th year, with all due respect to all of you, by the way, it never allowed women as students. And every year for last 100 this year including, it admits only 12 students a year. Only 12 students a year. And the fourth one is that it does not charge a penny. Fifth one is that there are no faculty. And you can imagine in the last 100 years, it has produced about 1,200 students. And you can imagine where these guys would have been. They have occupied some of the best positions in the world. Now, what do we say about this institution, university, whatever you call it? And by the way, this is the world's oldest and the smallest university, so-called. And by the way, that name is Deep Springs, which is very close to Las Vegas, United States. Amazing, every year it takes. So now what is the criteria for that? Very difficult to say. But I'm sure, because one thing is for sure, there is no free lunch. There is no free lunch. If you want to get to the best universities, I think you better go what do you say? I won't say ragmal, but then there's a rigor, because otherwise we are disrespecting our own legacy. And therefore, I think for someone to get in there, of course, there are institutions where they also give, what do you call, the weightage to the economic situation. So it's not that you have to be only this way, because there are meritorious students, but because of their otherwise economic condition, they may not be able. And there are ways and means for those students also to get with them. So I think the like you rightly said, ma'am, it is philosophical one. But again, when people fail to understand reality, there is a philosophy.
Right.
Right. So that's my take, Professor.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think my answer again would be to Mr. Zagarkar that profiling, student profiling, because will be the answer if ever there are no examinations, no scorecard. Still you want to make a transparent system, then the student profile should be so powerful, so stand out that yes, the child does have a chance to. We have one more scope for one more question, though there are so many questions. But yes, one more question. What about, this is by Miss Sangeeta, what about the students who don't fall in the merit list? What about, she has just written this. What about those students who don't fall in the merit list? And I'm sure, so whatever she means, I'll address this question because this is more close to class 12 performance. What will happen?
I think to say that, like when I said you can see who gets the highest and all, then she's saying, talking about the non-meritorious students, then how the teachers are going to give marks to them. I think that's what she means. I do not know if she means that. Do you think, ma'am, is she saying that?
I actually think that because when we're talking about merit, that's the average. I think what she
average student,
the average student.
So for average student, yes. So the marks are already there with the teachers, and moderation is always done across the board. It is done for all. It is not that this is my favorite child, so I'll give him 15 marks extra over the marks that he or she has scored in the school examination. So if I'm giving 15 marks, I'll be giving 15 to all. This is how it is done when the moderation is done. Okay. So it's not that I will not give to this child. So whatever the child has scored in grade 10, whatever percentage board comes out with, 20, 30, whatever, and the marks that the child has scored over the whole year, the best of the marks can be taken in the benefit of the child, so that the school average comes to the what the board is asking for, and then putting the moderation. I think some formula of this kind would come up. With that,
I think yes, I'm sure if your suggestion blended with Chaitanyaji's insight, where he said that it is not the college or institution that you should be aiming at, it is the course that you should be aiming at. So even if you're average, you should not look about the merit as in it. You should work hard towards whatever you aim at, and then probably get into the course and don't look too much into the institution wherever you get that course. So I think what Ms. Mani is saying and what Brother Chaitanya said should be the.
And one thing I would like to add, ma'am, like for class 11, we are getting admissions for grade 11. Even we give admission to external students, not only our students, external students also come. So how do we choose them? It's the same manner as Brother Chaitanya is saying, that we nowadays, earlier we used to have examination, entrance exam. Now we don't have any chance of that. So we are doing Viva. We do rigorous Viva for the child and a Google questionnaire. So that is done plus Viva. That's how we gauge a student. That is, and last year also we did this for our admissions. And this
I think you've actually answered a question by Miss Ashish Srivastava, who is actually asking this question: what will happen to those who just joined a class 11? So this is the answer that, these are the various ways.
So Brother Chaitanya said given a very good formula, Viva plus the little exam, maybe a Google examination that you do. that gives you the best about the child, the profiling with the teachers give. That's how it is going to be. And I think it is the best in this scenario.
Yes, I think that's actually very important, that we have to start changing our mindsets now, understanding that pandemic has given normal. Coming to the end of the session, and I think this was a very, very enriching session, and with the insights that we gained out of our esteemed and distinguished panelists, I would just like to say that academic reforms should roll out, and the higher education policy should reorient universities to a steady balanced shift from teaching to professional research, modernized applied curriculum, financial support, and infrastructure with the professional faculty, to the professional faculty. And of course, some sort of academic. We come to the end of this discussion, but we will be continuing the same topic of restructuring the university admission. So till the time, each and every of our audience, parents, educators, we all come on the same page and come out with a document which will help us to, revamp the whole system. We will next on we'll be rolling on the 19th or the 26th. The next webinar would have a continuation of the same theme. From the bottom of my heart, I thank each and every panelist. Thank you very much, and stay tuned to Decoding Education Policy 2020 by Edudevs and powered by Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham. Thank you so much.